Hi Capricorn, welcome to a weekly tarot reading for February 1st through the 7th, 2020. It's Raina here. This is a slightly different spread, but same basic premise. Let's pick an additional card. I'm just going to cut the deck. Okay. There we go. So the central theme here for the beginning of February is the Ten of Wands. This may be that you're working overtime at this particular juncture of the year for whatever reason. That's probably not very uncommon for Capricorns altogether, because you tend to be very like a workaholic. And but this is a card where, if you'll notice, the person is kind of hunched over, so they may be taking on responsibility, and this may be because your career is really taking off, or because you are assuming responsibility that doesn't belong to you. As a matter of fact, I'm looking at the past influence. We have the Three of Cups. So that might even be like co-workers. Maybe they're slacking off and you're the only one working in the whole place. You know, your ruler Saturn is all about duty. And sometimes that can get lost in the shuffle. And people can forget that duty is, you know, very specific, circumstances. It's not every situation that you assume responsibility for it. Sometimes when people do that, though, it's not completely altruistic. They're doing it maybe to control the situation. But, that only works when it works. Sometimes when people try to control a situation, they end up feeling even more out of control. Because this can happen in one's private life as well. You may be dealing with somebody who is not, or even like in, what I was thinking of specifically, like in a family situation where you have an ailing parent, an elderly parent, and these other people are not, they just want to have a good time. So you're the one left to basically take care of their parent, even though you may be working a full-time job as well. And in those types of situations, you have to lay down the law, obviously. You can't just let it continue. But in some cases, there may be other things that are going on that are much more like a subtle type of influence. And I want you to think about this. If you have that type of family dynamic where you're the one that tends to be taking care of your parents, and you have siblings who don't, and you look at them as kind of goof-offs or something like that, how are you treated as children? Because if you were the favored one, which we call the golden child, if the parent is a narcissist, then then there was that developed thing where you were receiving a lot of praise for your behaviors, and they were receiving a lot of condemnation or dismissive attitudes. And so they grew up to kind of, become those things, just like you grew up to become that successful person. So sometimes you might be perceiving things in a very narrow way, or I was going to say self-centered. I don't think of a lot of Capricorns as having the tendency towards narcissism, or even being, like self-absorbed or anything like that. But you could be kind of looking down on them based on how you see them interact, acting in life, and think that they're not doing what they need to do. And maybe you're 100% correct, but the only thing I'm trying to get you to see is that they may have been conditioned to feel like they didn't have anything else to offer. So the compassionate thing to do in that type of situation is to just come out and say, look, I'm kind of swamped. I'm doing all of this, and I'm also working a full-time job. How can we split up the chores or the things that we have to do here in order so that I can be relieved of some of them, and you don't have to do everything yourself either. And give them respect instead of complaining, but just coming from a place of respect. Not to say that would work, but it's really about also speaking up, because if this is like in the workplace, you may be getting a payoff from this. You may be kind of trying to show off to the people in positions of authority, hey, look at what I'm doing. I'm doing so much more than they're doing. And you will find in some cases, Capricorn, that the higher management doesn't care about that. They just want the job done, and sometimes they favor the Three of Cups people, and they don't care if they're just kind of sitting around and just gossiping together. They'll allow it as long as there's somebody that's going to pick up the slack, and that would be you. What is surrounding you, the energy surrounding you, is the Five of Cups. I keep saying the wrong thing. Five of Wands, which is, suggesting a dog-eat-dog environment. So very competitive environment at work, and perhaps that's why you are doing this. And in your personal life, if this is something along those lines, that could also be happening for you. And the question is, how is this going to get better? Because the Five of Wands energy can sometimes be very enlivening if there is true greatness happening on all ends. If people are creative, the wands are fire, it's a creative force, and it's in a field where it's just like everybody's outdoing each other and they are getting inspired by each other. That's healthy competition, because you're taking other people's accomplishments and you're building on them. You're feeling like you're admiring them, and it's not toxic. That's not what we're talking here. We're talking about someone feeling very put upon, like they cannot do anything for themselves without, well, what I mean is that they feel like they have to prove themselves over and over again. And that's not a healthy environment. This is sometimes what is exhibited by people in positions of authority, because they know it works. They know that it kind of triggers that sibling rivalry that a lot of people grow up with, and there's pain there. So they want to exploit that. I mean, they may not be thinking that deeply about it, but they just know that people are triggered when they are being compared to other people, and other people are getting more praise. They want that. They want to have that. And so they are willing to work harder at it. But it's not a good thing. It's not coming from a good place. The other thing, too, is that if this is a personal relationship, if the Ten of Wands is you carrying the water in the relationship, and the Three of Cups represents a partner who would rather party or philander than be committed to you and, committed to their own job and kind of doing productive things, that means that you're assuming responsibility for their life. So you're being the parent almost. The Five of Wands indicates that there is probably some incompatibility issues there. There's a lot of, sorry for that train, that there's a lot of conflict between the two of you that maybe is not being outwardly dealt with, and maybe this person is running away from it by, not being home a lot and doing other things. Maybe even the cheating, if they're cheating, they may be trying to send you a message. So it's important to really tune into what is happening around you so that you can fully feel as if you're in a place where you can have a harmonious situation. Not that not something where you feel like, oh, I'm doing something and I'm unhappy here. I don't like going home at night because I have to deal with somebody who I just don't see eye to eye with, or we're fighting too much. This is getting too nasty. I don't like it. And I'm not talking about anything like serious fighting, but even just bickering, not having that sense of like being on the same page. By the way, there was a card. I was going to say that, I have a lot of fire energy here. So fire energy is connected to the fire signs Aries, which is a big one for Capricorn for sure, Leo, and Sagittarius. Now, this can also be sexual passion. So, for instance, maybe if this is a personal relationship, there is more of a physical relationship than there is a emotional or spiritual one. That's what is the glue. It's not really anything other than that. The advice, or what's coming in, is the Page of Wands. Good news. Uh-oh. I realize this is going to go out in a second. Let me see if I can save this, because I still have another card left. I got to turn on my I have to turn on my power strip here. Okay, let's see if I can get this in, because sometimes it goes out. Okay, I think I saved it. Yes. Okay, so the Page of Wands is a card of good news coming in. And this can be something that you wanted to hear. So this could be if you have been unhappy in the workplace and you have maybe put in other types of, job offers that you are hearing back from one of them. And that might, not saying that this is happening all in 1 week. I'm just kind of going through what could happen in the future for you. And that would be wonderful, because that's going to make you feel so much more positive. And with a relationship, you may be starting a relationship with somebody that is very exciting as well. Now, let's deal with this outcome card. This is the Devil card. And one thing I will say, because the Page of Wands can be like a sexual affair. It's something very fresh and new and exciting. So make sure that you're not going from one temptation to the next. The Devil card is actually connected to your sign. Look at that pentacle with a fly, right in the middle of it. But it's kind of like the decay of materialism, the greed, the sins of the flesh. Every sign has to deal with its shadow and the things that it tends to overindulge in. Any earth sign has to deal with if they're like imbalanced as an earth sign, greed, over materialism, which doesn't mean just like being too immersed in things, but also greed is a part of that. So being covetous of other people's things, devoting too much attention, thinking and talking about material objects, and kind of shunning God or anything, the spiritual topics in life, those kinds of things. And if it's a relationship, staying with somebody because they make a lot of money rather than that you care about them. Feeling like connected to somebody because you have this sense of, how would I put it? Like you're just like drawn to that person and you don't know why. You just have this kind of attraction for somebody and they're just very, well, I mean, you do know why. It's because what I was trying to say, I was kind of like getting caught up in that thought and I got distracted. What I mean is that you're attracted to somebody and that becomes the only real basis for the relationship. So lust. I could have said that very simply, couldn't I? So that's kind of like a cautionary tale. A Page of Wands, again, you may be hearing from a new employer. Excuse me. And it may feel really good and you might say, wow, I'm going to make all this money. But are you getting yourself into another situation as you have dealt with right now? Whether it's in your romantic life or your professional life, are you going to just go right back into the same thing? Thinking that it's different because it's new when it's just same, different day. And so I picked a clarification card and I got the clarification card, Ace of Swords. Get clear on what it is that you're doing and what it is that you want in life. And then you'll be able to fully move forward with a sense of purpose. Your second house is Aquarius and the sun is in there. I'm sure there's other things going on there. There was a new moon there just the other day. So material concerns are front and center. It's not that it's something not to think about, but think about it in a way that you don't usually think about it. Okay, that's what I have for you. Also, if you're somebody that is dealing with a relationship that is imbalanced, the Ace of Swords can help you see that you might be in that kind of bondage where it is something, there's something that keeps you there, but it's not necessarily the right thing for a loving relationship. That's what I have for you. I hope that you enjoyed this, Capricorn. If you would like a private reading, the link to my web store is below, and I thank you for watching. Take care. Bye.